A lot of business owners convince themselves that they have a confidence problem as a leader because they tend to replay conversations in their head. Then they're second guessing what they said in those conversations. And then ultimately they find themselves walking away from an interaction thinking to themselves, like, man, I really should have just handled that better. And the conclusion that they land on is, I just need to be more confident. But most of the time, that's actually not the issue. It's not a confidence problem. And this is something that I see pop up for leaders and business owners all the time. They find themselves in a conversation with someone, whether it's on their team, a vendor, a partner, or just someone that they're working with. And something about that interaction just feels off. It just doesn't feel right. Maybe the conversation is just dragging on and things feel inefficient because it's dragging on. And the situation honestly just feels unnecessarily complicated to them. Or maybe it even just feels like something or someone is wasting their time. And it's in that moment, a strong reaction starts to build up inside of them. And it might be frustration, impatience, or even just this pressure inside of them. And sometimes it's even just a feeling of like, dude, this is harder than it needs to be, and I just want to be done with it. But the problem is, most people are thinking 3, 5, or even 10 steps ahead in their day and how this is slowing them down. So they don't recognize what's actually behind that statement, which is a feeling. And then that emotion starts driving the interaction without them even realizing it. And then guess what happens? That conversation ends. And that is exactly where the overthinking usually starts. Because they go right into replaying that interaction in their head. Why did I say it that way? I should have handled that differently. I wish I would have responded better and said this instead. And eventually the story becomes, why can't I handle something as simple as this? Like, it shouldn't be this hard. Maybe I'm just not confident enough as a leader. But a lot of the time, again, the real issue actually isn't confidence. The real issue is that they misread what they were actually feeling in the moment. A strong emotion showed up in that interaction. And because it wasn't recognized for what it was, it ended up influencing how they showed up, how they were able to communicate. And then afterward, the brain tries to make sense of the experience. And the explanation becomes, I really must have a confidence problem. But in reality, what happened is so much more simple than that. They were responding from an emotional state with an emotion that hadn't processed yet. And once you start recognizing that pattern, a lot of things begin to make sense. One of the most valuable skills that leaders can develop, in my opinion, is honestly learning how to recognize what they're feeling in the moment. And there's a really simple way to start practicing that. First, you just want to be able to identify the emotion. You want to be able to name it internally. I'm feeling frustrated, rushed, impatient. And then you just want to stay curious and ask why. I'm feeling this way because this situation just feels inefficient and it feels like my time is being wasted. Once you understand that, something interesting happens. Instead of reacting out of emotion in the conversation, you get to respond with intention. And then you start communicating what you really want to communicate and what actually moves the conversation forward. So instead of saying something like, hey, we can't keep doing this, which usually triggers defensiveness in the other person, you might try saying something like, hey, because I value both our time and want to help us get to a solution faster, let's try doing this instead. Now it's the same situation. You still have the same underlying frustration, but the communication becomes clearer and much more productive. Like I said, that gets the conversation and the solution moving in the right direction. Now, obviously, this isn't going to happen overnight. Learning to recognize and process emotion is a real-time skill. And early on, it's super messy. A lot of the time, you won't even realize what you were feeling until after the conversation was over. And that's totally okay. Even that reflection afterwards is going to build your awareness. So over time, you're going to be able to start catching it earlier. You begin recognizing what's happening internally while the conversation is still unfolding. And that is when leadership communication really starts to change, and you're going to be a lot more effective, and you're also going to have a lot more influence. Because once you develop that skill and can recognize, one, that you're actually having an emotional response, and two, what that emotion is so you can process it in real time. Here's what's going to happen. A lot of that self-doubt that you experience is going to disappear because you realize you didn't actually lack confidence in the first place. You were just simply reacting and having an emotion that you weren't able to recognize yet. And once you really understand that, the entire situation, every situation, starts to look different. A lot of business owners, again, they think that they have a confidence problem as a leader, and they don't. But many times what really is just happening is that they're misreading what they're feeling, or that they are actually feeling something in those difficult, challenging moments. And once they learn to recognize that, their ability to not only communicate effectively as a leader changes, but they will begin to show up with integrity as a leader. Who they want to be and who they know they can be as a leader will begin to match their actions and their words. So if you're a business owner trying to figure out leadership in life in real time like this, that's exactly what this channel is about. So feel free to stick around.